So now, my dear brothers and sisters, this leads us into our discussion of death. Remember, the discussion on the soul was just a prelude to the death, because in our Islamic beliefs course this year, which is year 3, we're examining now death and barzakh and the day of judgment. So Allah created our souls, there was that covenant, then we came to this life. One of the drivers in belief is death. It motivates us to believe and be prepared. Most people who believe, if it weren't for death, they would not believe. But when they know there's an ending to this physical life, that motivates them to go investigate, be prepared for the life after death. Now, the goal of a believer in this life is to empower the soul. Because remember, we started off as what? As bodies or souls? Souls. That's our essence. That's what defines us. So the goal of a believer in this life is to empower the soul. Now, the reason why death is bitter for a lot of people is because they did not spend enough time in this life empowering the soul over the physical body. So this is such a new experience for them that they're not used to, because they were attached to this physical body. They don't know how to function without a physical body, without desire, right? Death becomes a bitter experience for them. And the example that I usually give is the following example. Exercising. If someone has not exercised in a long time, and suddenly you go and run a mile, or you lift heavy weights, what happens to your muscles? They become sore. Why? Why do they become sore? You're not used to it. You're not prepared. But if somebody has been running a mile every day for the last 3 years, you now run a mile, do your muscles become sore? In fact, is it really difficult? No, you get used to it. Death for a lot of people is painful, not because God wants to punish us, but because we're not used to exercising the soul over the body, empowering the soul over the body. When we die, our soul feels sore, because we spent an entire lifetime only taking care of this body, not the soul. So now that the soul separates from the body, we find it a very bitter experience because we feel sore. Just like exercising for the first time. But if you had the habit of taking care of your soul and spirituality throughout your life, death will be a breeze. It's like a professional runner, you bring him, tell him, run a mile now. It's the easiest thing. He's used to it. There's no pain, no soreness, no difficulty. To put death in simple terms, that's how it is. That's why it's bitter and painful for some. They're not prepared for it. They feel disoriented. They feel misplaced. They're not used to this because their body, which they loved so much, which they worked for, is taken away from them. They feel sore.
So is it the body or the attachment to this world?
Both. It's materialism. And the body is a symbol for that. Because look at people who are attached to materialism. Trace the roots of that materialism. What is it? It's the body.
The desires of the body.
The desires of the body, exactly. Food, clothing, comfort. Why do you want to live in a huge palace? Because you want to be comfortable. Goes back to a material desire. You want to eat the best types of food, the best type of clothing. Why do people gather money? For these things. For what is it? See, it goes back to the body. Yes, we have other dimensions of materialism, but the core of it is this physical body. Or look at, people and how much they spend beautifying themselves. Millions of dollars, cosmetic surgeries, makeup, every single day, right? Of course, within halal limits, that's fine, but some people develop an obsession where every single day they're spending at least 60 minutes before the mirror with the whole makeup thing, right? So, this is one reason why death will be a bitter experience. Now we have a verse in the Holy Quran that states, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every nafs, every soul, every person shall taste death. Taste death. Every living thing shall taste death and fully experiencing it. Now, why does the Quran say taste? Because the greatest experience is to taste something. See, I can touch this bottle. I have the sense of touch. I feel it's smooth, it's rough. I can feel that. But there's nothing like taste. When you put something on your tongue and you taste it, if it's salty, if it's sweet, if it's hot, that gives you a more powerful experience, right? So the Holy Quran says every living thing, kullu nafsin, will taste death. That means it will fully experiencing. No one can escape that. Now at the moment of death, our soul does not die. The body dies, but not the soul. But there's a discussion on whether the soul will die on the day of judgment or no. When that trumpet is blown into, right? And the Holy Quran indicates everything will basically die. Will the soul also die or no? This is something we'll examine when we get to the events of the Day of Judgment. But briefly, theologians, the mutakallimin, the traditional scholars, they say yes. All souls will die. A lot of philosophers, the falasifa, they say no. They say the soul will not die, and it's impossible for the soul to die for a reason that they will state. We'll examine that inshallah. So this is a discussion we'll have. But definitely at the time of death, the soul does not die. It's the body that dies. So every living thing shall taste death. There's no escape.